Hi guys, Buildzoid here, and so today I'm trying to probe another AM5 motherboard, and I've noticed something that kind of annoys me about the waveform that I'm getting on the scope. So if we just single shot capture this, I'm just going to stop the workload. I don't have a heatsink on the VRM on this board, so it's a substantial VRM, so it wouldn't like overheat or anything. But it would be very painful if I touched it after the stress test runs for a while. Yeah, because like power delivery components are okay with 90 degrees Celsius. My fingers, not so much. Anyway, so the thing that's annoying me is we have these very periodic like spikes here, and these are not transients. I think these are the switching waveform of the Vcore VRM, or one of the like phases, because the coax does pass kinda near the... Man, I wonder if there's like EMI shielding tape. Because basically, if this is actually the PWM signal of the VRM, then actually just putting another, like, just a metal foil between the... The thing is, it has to be non-conductive on one side, right? Like, if you just... Like, I have copper tape, but if I just put that over the board, it's going to short the board out, so it would need to have, like, a non-conductive backing material. But anyway, so yeah, if this is PWM switching noise, that's going to be annoying. I mean, we can just pretend not to see it a lot of the time, but it bugs me. So yeah, we're going to figure out if this is PWM switching noise or if it's something wrong with my probe hookup. Though I guess we could figure out if it's PWM switching noise by just looking at the time for each of these. So we're down to 1 microsecond, and this VRM is running at 500 kilohertz. So I'm just gonna try, the thing is, I can't trigger on these stupid things. Wait, but what I can do is I can center them. Right, if I put this at... So that's at minus 2.2. Because 500 kilohertz should be, I think, 2 microseconds? Wait, no, that's too short. Because I'm thinking, like, high side turns on, low side... Yeah, high side turns on, we get a little spike. Because the thing is, when the MOSFET switches on and off, you get, like, a big, current inrush into the phase, and that creates a bunch of EMI. And then high side MOSFET turns off again, I guess? I don't have the voltage set very high, so that would actually make sense. Actually, this might be a bit too big of a gap for 10% duty cycle. The thing is, that, like, from minus... Yeah, but if plus 2 microseconds would be like 1.28, and this is at like 1.72 for the end of this. Unless the board runs at not 500 kilohertz, which it might. I don't know what it runs at. I haven't checked yet. But anyway, the idea is I'm just going to use channel 4 and see if the... I'm just going to probe the phases with channel 4, and if channel 4 lines up with these... Like, if any of the phases that I check line up with this, then evidently I'm just running the coax under that phase, and it's just picking up the PWM switching noise, which is very inconvenient. Because, yeah, I don't think there's anything else that could be doing this. So let's see if I'm right about that. Because, yeah, this really does... Actually, this is not the worst thing I've ever seen. Like, I've measured some boards which have, like, partially exposed inductors, where the inductor core, like, you... Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. But basically, those inductors, just... You put anything near them, and you get, like... the freaking waveform of the PWM signal. Like, you don't even just get these little spikes. You actually just get, like, a step in the voltage on the probe, which is really not fun. Yeah, so I don't like, yeah, I guess that'd be like unshielded or like partially unshielded inductors. Because like it's not like because you have inductors which are just a piece of wire wrapped around a core material, And then you have inductors, which is like a piece of wire that goes through a core material. And then you have inductors where the piece of wire goes into the core material, out of the core material, back through the core material, and then like the other leg of the inductor. So, and those are really, really bad for like radiating EMI into their close proximity. Um, but yeah, these are fully shielded inductors. So if this is picking up the PWM signal, it's doing it from the back of the board. Well, let's see. So, got our stuff running again. We're going to zoom out. And I'm going to center it. And let's probe. Oh, it's making it worse. Oh, I think it is the PWM signal, though. I guess one other way I could check is change the switching frequency on the board. But yeah, I'm starting to really think that it's EMI getting into the coax. Like, the whole reason I go all the way with, like, coax all the way to the back of the CPU socket is basically to avoid this. So, my day is ruined. Actually, that's not true. I like, in the process of measuring this board has amazing voltage regulation. But, man, I am annoyed. Also, I won't tell you what board this is, because that'll spoil the video. Though, if you've been following my channel for long enough, you probably already know. But yeah, this is annoying because it just like introduces like noise that isn't actually in the signal to the signal, which we don't want. So the thing is, if I change the switching frequency and that like spikiness changes with the switching frequency, then so I'm just going to max the switching frequency. So we're going to go to 800 kilohertz. Then that means it's the VRM PWM signal. I don't think it changed. It might be from the SoC VRM, but I'm not entirely... I don't think the coax is running under that. It's running near it, but I don't think it's under it. I think it's under the Vcore. I guess I could maybe put like a bunch of copper foil on like a plastic film and then just tape that to the back of the board. Oh boy. That's probably the easiest way of trying to deal with this. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really think that changed. Oh wait, no, they might be more frequent. They're kind of irregular. Well, during the transient, yeah, that would make sense that they get kind of irregular. Eight hundred would be 1.2. Oh, that actually kind of lines up. The issue is when I was probing with channel 4, the probe touching the Vcore, like the switch node of the inductor, basically radiates even more EMI into the environment, and that definitely picked up on the coax, which is what we were seeing earlier. I didn't bother to explain it, but that's what was going on. So my whole idea of like, oh, I'll use channel 4, yeah, that doesn't work. Because the probe just turns into an antenna spraying PWM signal into the environment, which is amazing. Very, very convenient. That's like the one... well, I've not actually run into any like real-world consequences for doing that. But yeah, that is something to sort of keep in mind, is if you're hooking up, or if you're using like your multimeter, right? Because multimeters have a frequency mode. If you're using your multimeter to check if the phases are switching, every time you touch a phase, it's going to spew PWM signal into the environment. And I'd imagine multimeter probes are significantly worse than the passive probes for an oscilloscope when doing that. Anyway, so what I wanted to do is like, well, this is at -2 microseconds right here. And this right here really looks like it's 1.25 microseconds before that, which would line up with 800 kilohertz switching frequency. It's also possible that the board defaults to a 400 kilohertz switching frequency. So actually what we could do is I could just measure channel 4 horizontal frequency. I mean, right now it's going to be 800 kilohertz, but... yeah, those spikes line up awfully well with... I took off the ground lead from the passive probe, which, actually, I mean, we should be able to just zoom... Oops, wrong knob. You'd think after, like, with how long I've had this scope at this point, you'd think I'd memorize the position of the knobs. But I haven't. They do kind of line up an awful lot. I think that's actually the case. It is actually just spewing PWM signal into the coax. Like the spacing on the PWM signal is very similar. Like the channel 4 probing the switch node. So let's now drop it all the way down to 300 kilohertz, and that should space the spikes out a bunch. And if that does, then I guess I'm going to have to take the system apart and figure out some kind of metal plate to put between the coax and the back of the board. Because, yeah, board be kind of noisy. I wonder, the other possibility... Well, I'm not setting the switching frequency for the SoC VRM. So that's the one, like, concern I have. Trying to think of how to get the lineup on this better. I don't think the spacing changed very much. Did it? Because now we're down at 300 kilohertz. So theoretically, the spikes should be like... Oh yeah, they are kind of almost 3 microseconds apart. Right? Because from here to there. And yes, I do realize the oscilloscope has rulers. I've just forgotten where they are. Wait, cursor? Hey, there we go. Oh, these are so... I don't like this. How do I... Oh, no. This is why I don't use the cursors very often. Okay, so this is where... Then we get our other one, and we put that here. Actually, that's too far, I think. Measure... yeah, I've forgotten how to... New. Also, I can smell electronics, so I'll just stop the stress test. Oh, there we go. Oh, would you look at that? The difference between those two cursors is 3.36 microseconds. So yeah, I'm picking up the PWM signal. Also, I'm an idiot at using the oscilloscope. It's kind of interesting to me how, like, this is not an issue on all it varies by motherboard whether or not this ends up being a problem. And it just occurred to me that I've run into this, like, weird little squiggle multiple times, and it's only occurred to me, like, today that, like, wait, like, sure, I'm running coax literally all the way to the CPU socket. The only part where the coax is, like, opened up is, like, a couple, like, half a centimeter before the actual connect, like, in the CPU socket area, so that it can connect to the multi-layer ceramics, right? Because that's where I've soldered it in. And so I just kind of assumed, like, oh, the coax can't possibly be picking up the PWM signal, but yeah, it can, as you can evidently see. Yeah, so I'm just gonna probably put some copper foil on like a non-conductive carrier material and then stick that in between. I guess I could just put the copper foil in like a plastic baggie. And then just stick that on there. Anyway, so yeah, there's ways I can deal with this, but evidently I am just picking up the PWM signal. How fun. I mean, I guess we could also check against one of the other cursor positions. Like, what if I put it there? Oh yeah, that's also 3.3 microseconds. Yeah, it's the VRM switching frequency. Yay! I guess it makes sense, because, like, if the VRM just, like, induces a current in the actual ground shield of the coax, like, that's still gonna show up. Right, because it's not gonna, actually with coax, it's not gonna induce that current into the inner conductor. It's only gonna put it onto the ground shield, so you're gonna see, like, because if it was induced onto both at the same time, it should cancel out. Actually, I'm not sure if it would. But yeah, like, I'm assuming it only induces it onto the ground shield, and then at the scope you get the squiggle. And this is why I don't use twisted wire pairs for this kind of thing, because you run a twisted wire pair a couple centimeters anywhere near a VRM, and it's just, like, basically the issue is that your twisted wire pair is so, like, at least my twisted wire pairs, like, have always been just too, like, spaced out. Like, the rate of the twist, I think, is too spaced out. So when you pass by a point source of noise, like the VRM switch node, it just, like, dumps a bunch of noise onto whichever wire happens to be near that phase. And if you run it in between two phases, right, one end of the, like, one side of the twisted wire pair is going to be slightly more exposed to one phase than the other phase, and there goes your twisted wire pair. Because I've run into that issue with twisted wire pairs before. Like, the original probinator that I built, right, with the 8700K, that was a twisted wire pair that went into the CPU socket. And the massive problem I ran into with that is on, I think it was ASRock. Yeah, it was ASRock and EVGA motherboards. They use, like, partially unshielded inductors. And so if that twisted wire pair was, like, anywhere near those inductors, it was completely unusable, the measurement that it produced. Like, it was just garbage. Complete garbage. Because you would get a nice freaking, view of the VRM switching on and off, just on the Vcore, like superimposed on top of the Vcore signal. So, yay. Fun. Well, now that mystery is solved. It's not really much of a mystery. I mean, it was a mystery. I thought it was like, oh, maybe my probe is not hooked up. There's, like, ringing or something, and it's like, nah, it's not ringing. It's just the VRM radiating switching noise into the environment. Well, anyway, you hopefully find this video somewhat interesting, and it hopefully doesn't lower your opinion of me too much. Because, Yeah, I'm not proud of the fact that it took me this long to realize that, wait a minute, that might just be the PWM signal. I wonder if they make triple shielded coax. Just like and like the third shield would just be like not connected to anything. I'm not sure if that would work. Actually, that would probably screw with the coax a bit, maybe. I don't know. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna put like a metal plate or like some kind of metal material between the coax and the VRM to hopefully get rid of this. Because it's not like a huge issue, but it is like, I don't know, let's switch back to channel 1, get rid of the cursor so I can actually see what we're looking at. Like, it's like, channel 1, please. Okay, there we go. Because it's like, we're at what, 100 millivolts per division? And this is like, yeah, this is like a 20 millivolt ripple. That's like really, like, that's actually, this is bad. That's actually really throwing off the measurement. It actually might be more than 20. Yeah, it's probably like, it might be like 30 millivolts. So yeah, that's no good. That needs to go. Um, that makes the board look like so much worse when you're zoomed out, right? Because like this, because it just gets like, so like it makes this part look really fat when it's actually just like switching noise leaking into the probe. Um, yay me. So anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully you find it somewhat interesting. If not, actually, this might be useful. If you are probing something that, like, yeah, if you're probing the output of a switching voltage regulator and you're seeing weird periodic ripply things on it, you might be picking up the switching noise of the, like, you might be, like, you might have run your probe too close to a switch, like a switch node for one of the phases. Um, so, yeah. Anyway, that's it for this video. So thank you for watching. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, suggestions down in the comment section below. And if you'd like to support what I do here with actually hardcore overclocking, I have a Patreon, Teespring store, Bandcamp, links in the description. Would be much appreciated if you check them out. That's it. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.